Dragonflight ending, DATAMINED, huge spoilers. There probably isn't any spoilers in here. We already know the World Tree is coming back into the world. We know the Night Elves are going to get a new city, as this is hinting at. Let's see what the truth teller Doran has to say.
Huge spoilers, but we have DATAMINED the actual ending with the World 3 as well as the new aspects joining, which essentially signifies the ending of the Dragonflight storyline, at least the Dragon Side 1. Furthermore, we have the likelihood of the Emerald
Ending of
Dream
the
Zone that
storyline
is
in
going to be
10.2?
teleported right to the left of the
No
Plains
10.3?
with heavy hints of a new Night Elven city. We have new achievements that further hint that 10.2 is actually going to be the final major patch of the expansion, at least story-wise. On the other hand, we do have some other hints that could potentially signal that 10.3 could happen from new mounts, as well as some really loosely worded interviews, but at the moment, signals are mixed. So what is this DATAMINED 10.2 ending? Is Farak really the final boss of Dragonflight? And what is even going on?
Yes.
While Farak is definitely doing something sinister, people have been doing sinister things with your private info and using it with malicious intent, and you can stop
that was a good
right
transition.
now with this video sponsor, Aura.
That was a great transition.
Making fake accounts with my info, and it is not fun. But Aura is not just your run-of-the-mill protection service. It is your shield against the unseen forces that are trying to get your data. Aura handles the removal of your private info from the internet. It protects your personal information. There's a VPN, a password manager, amongst other features. So let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe so that your private info remains just that private. Best of all, you can try Aura completely free for 2 weeks with my link in the description. So you can let people profit off your private info online, or you can go to aura.com/DoransMovies and start your free trial today.
Great.
So, huge things are actually happening, and keep in mind, this isn't just my speculation. We have legit DATAMINED a whole bunch of new things, as the 10.2 PTR has been out for at least a week now. So, not only do we have official interviews from Blizzard that are all over the place, but we got new spells that pretty much confirm the ending of 10.2. We have hints of the next expansion, the possibility of 10.2 being the final patch, or 10.3 happening, although that doesn't really seem likely with all the other hints. So, a completely expected thing is happened in 10.2, which I really do feel like was way too predictable, and that is that Viranaut turned against the Primal Incarnates. I also feel like it happened.
Not only was it predictable, it was very fast. Like I said, this whole questline felt like it took 2 minutes, and Viranaut went from being on Farak's side to coming over to Alexstrasza and being like, "Hey, let's be friends. I don't like Farak anymore." She literally flipped like in 2 seconds, and I was like, "Damn, that happened quick." You could see that it was going to happen, but it just felt like it happened very fast.
You suddenly, as in, Viranaut hated Alexstrasza completely, what you did to our people. Alexstrasza told her to come joining us, and she's like, yeah, no problem, I mean, these carnets are crazy. Anyway, despite being imprisoned by Alexstrasza for like 20,000 years, I really feel like that transition happened way too early. I would expect at least one more patch of story
changed in 2 minutes.
However, there is a new questline where Wrathion is teaming up with Viranaut herself to recruit the Netherwing Dragons of Outland to help us defend the Mirdrasil, and we're also getting the Storm Dragons that you might know from Stormheim to also help us defend the World 3, which means that these guys are finally going to get some story development after all these years. Interesting enough, we still don't know what exactly is going on, like 100%. Farak isn't here to burn the World 3 so that he can spite the Night Elves. He is here to steal the essence of it.
Right.
We don't really know what
he's not pulling a
exactly.
Sylvanas. He wants
the essence, what is he trying to steal, and who is he really working for, as at the moment, it really seems like he's being possessed by the Void. It has been previously heavily foreshadowed that the Emerald Dream is connected to Ardenweald and vice versa. That is why we planted a seed from Shadowlands in the Emerald Dream. However,
so Shadowlands can continue on forever.
The most interesting news is that we know that the World 3 will actually be transitioning into the Material Plane. That is why everyone and their mother is trying to evade it right now, as the process is happening at the moment. It is also quite predictable.
There was one thing that I heard that I got a little bit disappointed by. If you guys remember, Darnassus used to be like on top of the tree, like that's where the city was, and it was pretty cool. You could see the sky and Darnassus was nice. Even though it was made of 2 polygons, it was the first city I ever experienced in the game, because the first character I ever made was a Night Elf Hunter back in 2005, and this, from what I've been hearing, the city might be in the roots. Like the new Night Elf city might be in the roots of the tree, or like with the roots intertwined, like at the bottom of the tree. And I kind of don't like that. I'd prefer the city to be up, elevated into the tree. But none of that's confirmed yet. I just kind of heard it, and I was like, oh, really? We're going to get like a dirt and root city? I kind of wanted like a very nice sky box and everything else, but we'll see.
Be transitioning into the material plane. That is why everyone and their mother is trying to invade it right now, as the process is happening at the moment. It is also quite predictable. I really couldn't see the final hope of the Night Elves being destroyed, although you never really know with Blizzard and Night Elf inviting. So we've had all these speculations about the Emerald Dream. We've visited it on so many occasions, but it was always through some sort of a proxy instance or some super limited version.
Coming
but
from
now
Mud Hut Orcs,
we are going into the real deal, and what is a huge hint is what this map really is when you pay closer attention. The hint that we've talked about at the start of Dragonflight all the way back.
That's where it's going to come up, right there.
You can watch the video on my channel about how the tree will be planted near the Oneran Plains. Maybe completely right over a year later. The Emerald Dream Zone is literally the western side of the Oneran Plains. I mean, you can see that from this little island. This means that this entire zone is
already
probably
a spot for it
hidden,
to come out,
and it will literally appear like the dream is just shrouding it within the material plane. A meteor seal is planted in this place, and it is probably just going to spawn on the Dragon Isles at the end of this patch. However, let's break away from the speculations. Let's get into the biggest hint, and keep in mind, spoilers, this literally reveals how the storyline of 10.2 ends. We have datamined a spell called the Great Dragons that says this: Alexstrasza, Kalecgos, Vironot, Abyssian, Nosdormu, and Meritra arrive to receive the blessing of a Mirdrasil, which pretty much confirms that the World Tree is going to actually be saved.
We already knew that was going to happen.
What is interesting is that this time they are the ones being blessed by the World Tree itself. As you may know by the original lore, it was the dragon aspects that granted immortality and blessed Nordrasil, but here the aspects
it's like a
are
reverse
probably
blessing?
going to become aspects once again. Interesting enough, definitely not Titan aspects, but just aspects of Azeroth, which will definitely transition into the storyline of the next expansion. However,
so they're going to become their almost complete powerful selves once again. We've already helped empower them throughout the expansion, lighting those. What were those pillars even for in the beginning of the? Blizzard does this a lot. Would they get us to do something, and then that storyline completely disappears? Like, there's also a sword in Silithus. God knows what's going on with that thing. But we lit those pillars in the beginning. What did that even do? Was that just like a quest line thing, or weren't we supposed to like restore their power? I mean, I guess they're getting their powers now back from a Medrasil, but were those pillars helping it? I don't know, man. MMORPGs aren't necessarily known for their storytelling.
And that is that we have a new aspect here, the sixth one, which is also yet another speculation that has been confirmed. Alexstrasza is the red, Kalecgos is the blue, Abyssian is the black, Nosdormu the bronze, Meritra the green, and Vironot, the, I don't know what color, probably the primal color, the Proto-Dragon aspect,
primal,
which means that Vironot was indeed turned into an aspect. This also gives us further hints. First is that
I don't know if that's a spoiler, though. It's kind of
the Internal Zone thing might not happen, although we don't know if it will happen in the future. Second is that Alexstrasza became the new aspect, and the Tyr betrayal is probably going to happen later, as I feel like the storyline is going to be all about the Titan Order and breaking away the Titan Order, like splitting away the dragons and the Titans. My entire idea is that these new aspects are going to be separate from the Titan Order aspects. That is why they got a new blessing, probably from Elune herself. This is going to be split away from the Titans, and
so they're breaking away from the Titans before we fight the Titans.
Alexstrasza said she will make things right, how she doesn't like what she did in the name of the Titans. That is for the World Tree, but we have further datamined hints for Dragonflight ending. So first is that we know Farak is going to be the final boss of 10.2. We have official confirmation for that. We know he will be an actual boss fight. However, we still don't know whether he will be defeated or not. The biggest debate right now is whether 10.2
Farak's
is going
insane,
to be the final
man.
patch, and that at the moment is a super hot topic, as we have hints all over the place. So first off, when I say final patch, I mean the final major patch. We'll almost certainly get 10.2.5 and 10.2.7.
Agreed. We're gonna get the patch October. I'm gonna repeat this 100 times over. We're gonna get the patch October 31st, 10.2. We're gonna go to BlizzCon. Everyone's gonna have their finger popping nerd orgies at BlizzCon. We're gonna get the expansion announcement. It's gonna be great. And then the next week after BlizzCon, Raid opens, Mythic Plus season starts. We continue through that. We're gonna finish out the story a little bit in 10.2.5, and then 10.2.7. Listen to me now. We are going to get the Fated rating shit that we got last time. And what's great about that is Fated rating gets spaced out. Fated rating's a lot of content because you got 3 raids. Right? We got 3 raids in this expansion. Yeah, 3 raids. And each one is faded one at a time. If you guys remember that, that's what they did in Shadowlands. So the first raid, you'll have Vault of the Incarnates faded, then you'll have Aberrus faded, and then you'll have this new Amidrosil raid faded, right? So that's 3 weeks. Then they go through the rotation again, another 3 weeks, okay? And then they go through the rotation where you have all of the raids open for faded raiding. If you guys remember that, if you do the math, you got 6 weeks plus another maybe a week or two. You got 2 months. You got 2 months minimum of content there. 2 months of content leading us into what? 11.0. So it lines up pretty well, everybody. I think that's what's going to happen. I think 10.2 is the final patch.
Which might still contain quite a bit of new storyline, new events.
Oh yeah, I've heard crazy stories about what happens at BlizzCon.
Keep in mind, I mean, they had the entire Bronze Dragonflight story in one of these small patches. At the moment, a lot of things are pointing that there won't be a 10.3, but it isn't completely impossible. First of all, in 10.1.7, 11.0 pre-orders were already data mined.
Get your trader
standard. That is
standard.
really strange when they would add them so early, because this essentially confirms that the next expansion will be announced on BlizzCon. 10.2
Yeah,
at
sure
the moment seems like quite the wrap-up of the entire story that he's been building since 10.0. The aspects are getting their blessings, reunited, Farak defeated, Virna joins us, Raza get defeated, only Iridikron remains, and his crazy plan really seems like it is set to unleash the next expansion, not just a single patch.
He's gonna help the Void.
With Xal'atath appearing in the background. If we didn't get Xal'atath in that cinematic,
I hope Xal'atath gets a new model.
And soon, but this obviously signifies bigger things happening behind the scenes, especially with Ashara and all the Void hints that are everywhere. It will make sense that the storyline is wrapped up, at least the main one, so that we can know where we will go in the next expansion. This Iridikron thing is really supposed to be like the big final battle, the big reveal.
Xal'atath is Void, oh yeah.
Keep that a mystery and then announce 11.0, which by all accounts should be a pretty big expansion.
Look, Xal'atath is Void, but she's not working with the Void. Supposedly Xal'atath's story is she was one of the more powerful. This is rumors now. This is kind of like speculation that she was one of the more powerful old gods that was defeated by the other old gods. So like N'Zoth and all the others teamed up and beat her ass in a very tentacly hentai way and weakened her to the point where she was just, put into this dagger. And now she's trying to like recapture things, because remember, the old gods, they're not necessarily in the same team. They all crashed onto Azeroth. They were sent out into space and happened to land on the same planet, but they're not necessarily the same in terms of like, oh, we're on a team here to corrupt together. No, they kind of all fight for power. So we're going to hear more about Xal'atath. She is using, Galakrond to get more of that essence to basically, become strong again. That seems like her plan. So I think we're going to get more of her lore, and I do hope she gets a new model. Because right now she just looks like a regular old Void Elf. She needs a cooler model.
Only thing I could see happening is that they announced 10.3 and 11.0.
She gave herself to the priest, yes. The priest help her regain some power.
We know what in the next expansion, but we have to deal with him first, which is going to be 10.3 in the next patch. This would honestly make sense. However, what doesn't make that much sense is what would we do in 10.2.5, 10.2.7, as well as 10.3.5 and 10.3.7. I feel like there's just way too much stuff, seeing like how much they actually wrapped up the story in 10.2 with all the dragon stuff. However, speculations aside, we have data mined these new achievements just added in 10.2, which kind of signal that the chapters talking about the major factions, with the last one being Friends of the Dream, it seems like this is the final chapter of the expansion. I mean, they could still add another one, of course, in the achievement, but at the moment, it really does seem like this could be it. Now, on the 10.3 positive side, there are some counter hints. First is that Blizzard's 20th anniversary is going to be late next year, which is usually when Blizzard releases expansions anyway, and that would be like the perfect release timing. That could make just enough time for 10.2 mini patches, 10.3 and its derivatives. However, I do feel like it will be a bit too long of a wait. I mean, do you remember that Blizzard,
like I said, if they give us faded rating, that alone is 2 months of content. That's 2 months of content. I mean, they don't need a 10.3. You don't need it anymore. Who's this by? This is Doran.
Half a year after the announcement, we had the alpha 2 months later, so it is definitely possible we could get the next expansion
I'll link the video
mid-next
in the
year
chat.
if they announce it on this year's BlizzCon, maybe even April or May. Another hint is some mounts for DATAMINED that could potentially signal that a new season will be happening, and that could signal 10.3 in turn.
Yeah, but a new
it
season
isn't
happened in
really that
Shadowlands
strong of a hint, as we
without
had something
10.3.
similar with Shadowlands
Yeah.
and nothing really happened. Interesting enough though, Blizzard did an interview and they vaguely told us that we should expect a major patch following the Guardians of the Dream, but they never specifically stated that it is going to be 10.3 exactly.
be a,
Keep in mind,
you know,
we're
11.0
definitely in
pre-patch.
for at least too many patches that could still count as major content, and they could still be a lot of stuff packed into them. So
Yep.
these two could help us tie the loose ends from Dragonflight, maybe with getting the Night Elves a new home and actually dealing with these things, and they could also be connecting the next expansion that we still don't really know what it is going to be about. So these two can have something with that, and that it could tie in with the pre-patch and ultimately 11.0. However, we know for certain that the Mirdrasil is saved. It blesses the dragon aspects instead of the dragon aspects blessing it. They get
Right.
their powers back, and Farak is probably going to be defeated as he is a boss fight, and he could potentially be the final boss. However, this opens a whole nother door for new content, Titan, crazy stuff happening
Oh yeah,
in
look
the
at
next
that! Look at that
expansion.
slow walk.
Thank you for
Oh,
watching.
yeah.
Check out this possible leaked image for the next cinematic for 11.0, and check out my video on Sonic Pirates and Vikings on the second channel and Real World History by clicking on the screen as well.
Great
See
video.
you next time.
Yeah, I totally see 10.3 being or 10.2 being the final patch. The time cadence I told you about with Halloween and everything else happening, that's how I think it's going to happen. And because I think it must be right. I'm just going to go with that. But great video from Doran.